The glass walls of Ward Industries reflected the Chicago skyline like mirrors of ambition. Ethan Ward, 34 years old and worth $3 billion, stood frozen before the massive screens in his executive conference room. Red numbers flashed everywhere, a $200 million catastrophe threatening to destroy everything he'd built since his father's death 8 years ago. "Sir, we've tried everything," stammered David Chen, his lead programmer, dark circles under his eyes from 72 hours without sleep. "The algorithm keeps rejecting our patches. If we don't fix this by market open tomorrow, then keep trying." Ethan's voice cracked with exhaustion. His usually perfect appearance was disheveled, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up, his dark hair falling across green eyes that had lost their usual confidence. There has to be a solution. There always is. But as midnight approached on this cold February night, even Ethan's legendary optimism was failing. The 20 analysts and programmers around him looked defeated. Some had already given up, staring blankly at screens that mocked their expertise. "Take 5 minutes," Ethan commanded, his hands trembling slightly as he reached for his coffee. "I need air." He stepped onto the private balcony adjoining the conference room, letting the winter wind bite at his face. Below, the city sparkled with life. Unaware that one of its largest employers might not survive the week, his phone buzzed. Another board member demanding answers he didn't have inside. Maria Delgado pushed her cleaning cart into the now empty conference room. At 28, she'd been invisible in these halls for 3 years. Just another member of the night shift. Her auburn hair was tied back in a simple ponytail. Her green uniform pristine despite hours of work, she hummed softly, an old lullaby her grandmother used to sing as she began collecting empty coffee cups and energy drink cans. Then she saw it, Mr. Ward's computer screen, still logged in, displaying line after line of code that looked like a foreign language to most. But not to Maria. Her heart began racing as memories flooded back, late nights in her mid-dorm room before everything fell apart, before her mother's cancer diagnosis forced her to drop out, before she traded her dreams for a mop and bucket. She glanced toward the balcony where Ethan stood with his back turned. Her hands moved almost of their own accord, fingers dancing across the keyboard with muscle memory from another life. One line. That's all she typed, a simple redirect in the error handling that everyone had overlooked. The screen flickered, red turned to green. Numbers stabilized. The crisis that had paralyzed brilliant minds for days dissolved in seconds. Maria quickly stepped back, grabbing her spray bottle just as Ethan returned. He froze mid-step, staring at his screen in disbelief. What? How? He spun around, his eyes wild with hope and confusion. Who did this? Who fixed it? The conference room was empty except for Maria, who was carefully wiping down the table. She looked up, meeting his gaze for perhaps the first time in 3 years. Those green eyes that usually looked through her now focused on her with laser intensity. "Sir," she asked quietly, her voice carrying a slight accent that betrayed her nervousness. "The code. Someone just saved my company. Was anyone else here?" Maria set down her cloth slowly. She pointed to the yellow bucket sitting on the conference table, right next to his laptop. "Sometimes," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "the person who cleans up the mess can see what others miss." Ethan's mouth opened, then closed. He looked from her to the screen and back again. But you're the cleaning lady," Maria finished for him, a sad smile touching her lips. "I know." The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken questions. Through the glass walls, the city lights twinkled like stars, witness to a moment that would change everything. But Maria simply picked up her bucket and turned to leave. "Wait," Ethan called out, his voice hoarse. "Please, wait." Maria froze at the conference room door, her hand gripping the cleaning cart's handle so tightly her knuckles turned white. Behind her, she could hear Ethan Ward's rapid footsteps approaching. 3 years of invisibility shattered in an instant, and every instinct screamed at her to run. "Please," Ethan repeated, softer this time. "I need to understand what just happened." She turned slowly, keeping her eyes downcast. "I should go, Mr. Ward. The 15th floor still needs cleaning. The 15th floor can wait." His voice held, a mixture of awe and confusion that she'd never heard from the confident CEO. "You just solved a problem that my best programmers couldn't crack." "How?" Maria lifted her gaze, meeting his eyes directly for the second time. In the harsh fluorescent lights, she could see the exhaustion etched into his features, the desperation. that had driven him to the edge. It was just a lucky guess, sir. No. Ethan shook his head firmly. That wasn't luck. That was expertise. Please, sit down, just for a moment. Against her better judgment, Maria found herself settling into one of the leather chairs she'd cleaned countless times. Ethan sat across from her, his full attention focused on her in a way that made her stomach flutter with nervous energy. What's your name? He asked gently. Maria Delgado. Maria. He tested the name, then glanced at his screen where the solution still glowed green. Where did you learn to code like that? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Maria's fingers twisted in her lap as memories threatened to overwhelm her. It doesn't matter anymore. It matters to me. Ethan leaned forward, his intensity softening into genuine curiosity. Please, I've seen the work of hundreds of programmers. What you did, it was elegant. Brilliant. A bitter laugh escaped her lips. Brilliant people don't clean offices at midnight, Mr. Ward, don't they? He gestured around the room. You've been here all along, watching us struggle, seeing our mistakes. Why didn't you speak up sooner? Because I need this job, Maria said simply, her voice steady despite the tears threatening to form. I have responsibilities, people depending on me. I can't afford to pretend to be something I'm not anymore. Ethan was quiet for a long moment, studying her with those penetrating green eyes. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Less CEO, more human. My father built this company from nothing. Started as a janitor in a tech firm, taught himself programming at night. He used to say the best solutions come from unexpected places. Your father sounds like he was a wise man. He was. A shadow crossed Ethan's face. He died 8 years ago. Heart attack at his desk, right here in this building. I was 26, barely out of business school, suddenly running a billion-dollar company. Maria found herself leaning forward slightly, drawn by the vulnerability in his voice. That must have been terrifying. Terrifying doesn't begin to cover it. He smiled ruefully. Everyone expected me to fail. Some days, I expected me to fail. Tonight, I thought I finally had. But you didn't, Maria pointed out softly. You're still here, still fighting. Because of you. The intensity returned to his gaze. Maria, I need to know, can you do it again? Can you help us fix other problems? She stood abruptly, panic flashing across her features. I can't. I'm sorry, Mr. Ward, but I just can't. She grabbed her card and headed for the door. I'll pay you, Ethan called out desperately. Whatever you need. Name your price. Maria paused at the threshold, her back to him. Some prices are too high, Mr. Ward. Some dreams die for good reasons. She glanced back, offering a sad smile. Enjoy your victory, you earned it. As she pushed her cart into the hallway, Ethan remained frozen in his chair, staring at the spot where she'd been. His phone buzzed with messages from his team, excitedly. Our EPO or TING that the system was stable, the crisis averted. But all he could think about was the mystery of Maria Delgado, and the pain he glimpsed behind her green eyes. Down in the service elevator, Maria leaned against the wall and finally let the tears fall. She buried that part of herself so deeply, convinced it was gone forever. But tonight, for just a moment, she'd felt it again, the thrill of solving the puzzle, of making the impossible possible. Her phone vibrated. A text from her sister. Sophie's fever broke. She's sleeping peacefully. Don't worry, sis. We're okay. Maria wiped her eyes and straightened her uniform. She had work to finish, bills to pay, a family to protect. Whatever Ethan Ward thought, he discovered tonight would be forgotten by morning. CEOs didn't notice cleaning ladies. That was the natural order of things. But as she pushed her cart onto the 15th floor, she couldn't shake the memory of how he looked at her, not through her, but at her, like she was someone worth seeing dawn, like she mattered. 3 days passed in a blur of normalcy that felt anything but normal to Maria. She kept her head down, arrived at work precisely at 10 p.m., and avoided the executive floor until she was certain it was empty. But everywhere she went in the Ward Industries building, she heard whispers of the miracle fix that had saved the company. Stock price jumped 12%. One analyst said to another in the elevator, not noticing Maria pressed against the back wall with her supply cart. Ward's a genius, his companion replied. Always pulls through when it counts. Maria bit her tongue and stared at the floor numbers climbing slowly. Let them think what they wanted. It was safer that way. On Thursday night, she was restocking. supplies in the third-floor janitor's closet when her supervisor, Gary, appeared in the doorway. His usually stern face looked troubled. "Delgado, you're wanted upstairs. Executive floor." Maria's heart plummeted. "Did I miss something? I cleaned there last night." "It's not about cleaning." Gary shifted uncomfortably. "Mr. Ward wants to see you. In his office." Now, the walk to the executive elevator felt like a march to execution. Maria's mind raced through possibilities, each worse than the last. Had she broken some corporate policy by touching his computer? Would she lose her job? How would she pay for Sophie's medications? Ethan's office occupied the entire northeast corner of the 40th floor. Maria had cleaned it hundreds of times, but never with him present. Now, she found him standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows, hands clasped behind his back, watching the city lights below. "You've been avoiding me," he said without turning around. "I've been working my scheduled shifts, Mr. Ward, on every floor except this one." He turned then, and Maria was struck by how different he looked from 3 nights ago, rested, confident, but his eyes held the same intensity that had unsettled her before. "I've had my security team pull the logs. You've been trading shifts, taking different routes. Why? I thought it would be better for everyone if you disappeared, became invisible again." He moved closer, and Maria instinctively took a step back. "I'm afraid that's not possible anymore, Maria. You see, I have a problem." Her throat felt dry. "Sir, I've been thinking about what you said, about dreams dying for good reasons." He gestured to a chair. "Please, sit. This might take a while." Reluctantly, Maria perched on the edge of the leather chair, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Ethan settled behind his desk, but his posture was anything but formal. He leaned forward, elbows on the mahogany surface. "I did some research. Maria Esperanza Delgado, accepted to mid at 17, full scholarship, completed 2 years with a 4.0 GPA in computer science and mathematics. Then you vanished." Maria's chest tightened. "You had no right. Published 3 papers on algorithmic optimization that are still cited today. Your professors called you one of the most promising students they'd ever taught." His voice softened. "What happened, Maria?" "Life happened," she whispered, tears threatening despite her efforts to remain composed. "Not everyone gets to finish their fairy tale, Mr. Ward. Your mother, Elena Delgado, diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer in your sophomore year." Maria stood abruptly. "Stop, please, just stop. Medical bills that insurance wouldn't cover. Experimental treatments. You dropped out to work. The help pay." I said stop. The words erupted from her, years of suppressed pain breaking through. "Yes, I dropped out. Yes, I gave up mid to take care of my mother. And yes, she died anyway. 6 months later, drowning in debt, leaving me with a 13-year-old sister to raise." "Is that what you wanted to hear?" Ethan was on his feet now, moving around the desk. "I wanted to understand what? That not everyone gets to be a billionaire CEO? That some of us have to choose between dreams and family." Maria wiped angrily at the tears streaming down her face. "I made my choice. I'd make it again. Sophie needed me. She still needs me. Sophie, your sister. She's 19 now?" Maria's protective instincts flared. Leave her out of this. Pre-med at Northwestern, Dean's List. Following in her big sister's footsteps, just in a different field. "How do you? Because I've been trying to understand how someone with your gifts ends up pushing a mop in my building." Ethan's voice was gentle, but firm. "And what I found was a woman who sacrificed everything for her family, who works 3 jobs to pay for her sister's education, who tutors kids in coding at the community center on weekends for free." Maria sank back into the chair, exhausted by the emotional upheaval. "What do you want from me?" "Mr. Ward, I want to offer you a job, a real job, senior programmer, to start. 6 figures, full benefits, flexible hours to accommodate your other responsibilities." The offer hung in the air like a lifeline she was afraid to grasp. Maria stared at him, searching for the catch. "Why?" "Because you saved my company. Because talent like yours shouldn't be wasted. Because—" He paused, seeming to struggle with the words. "Because my father would have done the same thing. He believed in second chances." "This isn't a second chance," Maria said quietly. "It's a different life. I don't know if I can." "You can." Ethan moved closer, his conviction palpable. "I saw it 3 nights ago. For that moment. You weren't the cleaning lady. You were the brilliant programmer you were meant to be. Let me help you find her again. Maria closed her eyes, feeling the weight of 3 years of struggle pressing down on her shoulders. When she opened them, Ethan was holding out an envelope. "What's this?" "A signing bonus. Enough to catch up on Sophie's tuition and your rent. No strings attached. Even if you say no to the job, it's yours." Her hands shook as she took the envelope. "Why are you doing this?" "Because everyone deserves a chance to be who they really are," Ethan said simply, "and because I have a feeling that Maria Delgado, the programmer, is someone extraordinary." Maria stared at the check in her trembling hands. $50,000. More money than she'd see in 2 years of cleaning. The numbers blurred as tears gathered in her eyes. "I can't accept this," she whispered, holding the envelope back toward Ethan. Double quotes, "Yes, you can." He gently pushed her hand back. "Consider it back pay for all the problems you've probably noticed and never mentioned." "Mr. Ward, Ethan, please." He returned to his desk but remained standing, giving her space. "Look, I know this is overwhelming. Take the weekend. Think about it. But Maria, you need to understand something." His green eyes held her steadily. "This isn't charity. This is business. I need someone with your skills, your perspective. Someone who sees solutions others miss." Maria clutched the envelope, her mind spinning. "I haven't coded professionally in 3 years. Technology changes. I'd be behind. You solved in 30 seconds what my team couldn't fix in 3 days. I'll take rusty brilliance over polished mediocrity any day." A laugh escaped her despite everything. "Is that what you tell your shareholders?" "I tell my shareholders the truth. That innovation comes from unexpected places." He smiled, and for the first time, Maria saw him not as the untouchable CEO, but as someone who might actually understand. "My father started this company with nothing but determination and a willingness to learn. He'd work all day as a janitor, then code all night." "Sound familiar?" "I don't code anymore," Maria said automatically, then caught herself. "I mean, not really. Sometimes I help at the community center, but that's just basic stuff for kids." The same community center that went from having no computer program to teaching 50 kids a week. "The one where you built the entire curriculum from scratch." At her shocked expression, he shrugged. "I told you, I did my research. That's different. Those kids need." She stopped, realizing she was making his point for him. They need someone who understands that talent doesn't always come in expected packages. Someone who knows what it's like to have potential, but no opportunity. Ethan moved to the window, gazing out at the city. "Do you know what my biggest fear is, Maria?" The question surprised her. "No, that somewhere out there is another you. Another brilliant mind cleaning offices or stocking shelves or doing whatever they have to do to survive while their gifts go unnoticed." He turned back to her. "I can't fix the whole system, but I can fix this. I can make sure at least one person gets the chance they deserve." Maria stood slowly, still processing everything. "If I say yes, and I'm not saying yes, what would you expect? I can't work days. Sophie has classes, and I help with work whatever hours suit you. Middle of the night if that's what works. Results matter, not FaceTime." He pulled out a card and handed it to her. "This is Rachel Kim, my head of development. If you decide to join us, she'll help you get up to speed. She's brilliant, patient, and started her career in unconventional circumstances too." "What kind of circumstances?" "That's her story to tell. But let's just say she understands that the straight path isn't the only path." Maria tucked the card carefully into her pocket alongside the envelope. "I need to talk to Sophie, and I need to think. Of course, take all the time you need." As she turned to leave, he called out, "Maria, one more thing." She paused at the door. "That night, when you fixed the code, you were humming something. A lullaby." He rushed to her cheeks. "You heard that?" "I'm sorry. I didn't realize. Don't apologize. It was beautiful. My mother used to hum when she worked too." Said it helped her think. For a moment, they stood there, the people from different worlds connected by an unexpected thread of understanding. Then Maria nodded and slipped out the door. In the elevator, she pulled out her phone to find several missed calls from Sophie. Panic flared until she saw the text. "Where are you? Gary said you got called upstairs. Are you in trouble? Call me." Maria smiled despite her emotional turmoil. Sophie, her fierce protector, ready to storm the castle if needed. She tapped back. "I'm fine. Better than fine. Maybe I'll explain when I get home." As the elevator descended, Maria caught her reflection in the polished steel doors. Same uniform, same tired eyes, Same woman who'd walked in, but something had shifted. For 3 years, she'd convinced herself that Maria the programmer was dead, a casualty of cruel circumstances. But maybe, just maybe, she'd only been sleeping. The check in her pocket felt surreal. But even more surreal was the possibility it represented. Not just money, but a chance to be herself again, to use her mind for more than remembering which executive like their trash emptied twice daily. She thought of her mother, who'd been so proud when Maria got into MIT. My daughter, the genius, she'd tell anyone who listened, even from her hospital bed. She's going to change the world. I'm sorry, Mama, Maria whispered to her reflection. I'm so sorry I let you down. But as the elevator opened to the parking garage, a new thought struck her. Maybe she hadn't let anyone down. Maybe surviving was its own kind of genius. Maybe raising Sophie, keeping them afloat, teaching those kids, maybe that was changing the world too, just on a smaller scale. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Forgot to mention, the job comes with full family health insurance. Sophie would be covered. Just thought you should know. Maria stared at the message, then at the concrete ceiling of the garage. For the first time in 3 years, she allowed herself to hope. Saturday morning sunlight streamed through the small window of the Delgado sisters' apartment in Pilsen. Maria sat at their wobbly kitchen table, the check and business card laid out before her like evidence in a crime she hadn't committed. Sophie, still in her Northwestern Medical School sweatshirt, paced the narrow space between the table and the counter. $50,000, Sophie repeated for the 10th time. He just gave you $50,000 as a signing bonus if I take the job. If Sophie whirled around, her dark eyes flashing with the same intensity they'd had since she was 13, newly orphaned and terrified. Maria, this is what we've been waiting for. This is complicated, Soph. Maria pushed the check away slightly. I haven't coded professionally in years. What if I can't do it anymore? What if I fail? Sophie pulled out the chair across from her sister and sat down hard. Do you remember what you told me when I was scared to apply to Northwestern? When I said I wasn't smart enough, that kids like us don't become doctors? Maria smiled softly. That was different. No, it wasn't. You said, Sophie Delgado, you are brilliant and brave, and the only thing standing between you and your dreams is fear. Well, guess what? Hermana, same goes for you. I'd have responsibilities to yourself too. Sophie reached across the table and grabbed Maria's hands. Do you think I don't know what you gave up for me? Do you think I don't lie awake at night, feeling guilty that you're cleaning toilets to pay for my textbooks? Sophie, no, let me finish. Tears gathered in Sophie's eyes. You saved me, Maria. When Mom died, when everything fell apart, you saved me. You've been my hero every single day for 6 years. But heroes deserve happy endings too. Maria squeezed her sister's hands, her own tears falling freely now. What if it's too late? What if I've been away too long? Then you'll learn, like you always do. Sophie's voice grew fierce. Remember when you taught yourself how to fix the car because we couldn't afford a mechanic? Or when you learned medical billing to fight the insurance company? You're Maria fucking Delgado. You can do anything. A laugh bubbled up through Maria's tears. Language. Dr. Delgado. Not a doctor yet. Sophie grinned, then grew serious again. But I will be. Because my sister showed me that people like us can be anything we want. Now it's your turn to remember that. Maria's phone buzzed. Another unknown number. But this time it was a voice message. She played it on speaker. Hi Maria. This is Rachel Kim from Ward Industries. Ethan asked me to reach out. I just wanted to say, I know how scary it is to jump back in after time away. I took 5 years off to raise my kids after my husband died. Thought I'd never catch up. But here's the thing, your brain doesn't forget how to solve problems. It just needs to remember it's allowed to. Anyway, if you want to talk, programmer to programmer, my door's open, no pressure, just one woman who took the scenic route to another. The message ended, leaving the sisters in thoughtful silence. She sounds nice, Sophie said finally. Yeah. Maria stared at the phone, then at her. Sister, you really think I can do this? I think you already did. 3 nights ago. You saved a company worth billions with one line of code. That wasn't luck, Maria. That was you being who you really are. Maria picked up the check again, studying Ethan Ward's signature. She thought about him standing in his office, talking about his father, the janitor, who learned to code. about second chances and seeing potential in unexpected places. The health insurance would cover you completely, she said, quietly. No more rationing your insulin. Don't make this about me, Sophie warned. This is about you, about what you want. What did she want? For 3 years, Maria had pushed the question away, focusing only on what she needed: money for rent, food, Sophie's education. But want, that was a luxury she couldn't afford. Except now, maybe she could. I want to build things again, she admitted, the words feeling strange on her tongue. I want to solve problems that matter. I want to use my brain for more than calculating which cleaning supplies will stretch furthest. She looked up at Sophie. I want to be me again, then be you. Sophie stood and moved around the table, wrapping her arms around Maria from behind. Be brilliant. Be brave. Be the woman who inspired a scared 13-year-old to believe she could become a doctor. Maria leaned back into her sister's embrace, feeling 28 years of weight on her shoulders. But for the first time in years, it didn't feel crushing. It felt like fuel. I'm going to deposit this check, she said firmly. Pay off your tuition for the semester. Then I'm going to email Rachel Kim and set up a meeting. And then, Maria turned to face her sister, a real smile breaking across her face. Then I'm going to remind Ethan Ward and everyone else at that company why Maid doesn't hand out full scholarships to just anyone. Sophie whooped and pulled her into a proper hug. That's my sister. The genius is back, as they held each other. In their tiny kitchen, sunlight painting golden stripes across the worn linoleum, Maria felt something she'd almost forgotten existed. Hope. Her phone buzzed again. This time, a text from Ethan. No pressure, but my lead developers are having a debate about optimization algorithms. Thought you might find it amusing. Link attached if you're curious. Maria clicked the link, her eyes scanning the technical discussion. Within seconds, she spotted 3 flaws in their reasoning. Her fingers itched to type out corrections. What is it? Sophie asked, seeing her expression change. Just some programmers being wrong on the internet, Maria said, her voice carrying a hint of the confidence she'd buried for so long. Really, obviously wrong. So tell them. Maria looked at her sister, then at the phone, then at the business card on the table. Rachel Kim, head of development, a woman who understood scenic routes. You know what? I think I will. She pulled out her laptop, ancient but functional, and began to type. Monday morning arrived with unseasonable warmth for February in Chicago. Maria stood outside the gleaming Ward Industries building, but this time she entered through the main lobby instead of the service entrance. The security guard, who usually ignored her, did a double take. Maria, what are you doing here so early? Shift doesn't start till 10. I have a meeting, she said, trying to project confidence she didn't quite feel. She traded her uniform for her only business outfit, a simple black pantsuit she'd worn to her mother's funeral, now paired with a blue blouse Sophie had insisted on buying yesterday. Meeting? He looked skeptical until she showed him the visitor pass Rachel Kim had messaged over. His eyes widened. Oh, whoa, well, good luck, Maria. The executive elevator felt different in daylight, filled with people in expensive suits talking about markets and mergers. Maria pressed herself into the corner, acutely aware of her off-the-rack outfit and scuffed shoes. But then she remembered Sophie's words. You're Maria fucking Delgado. Rachel Kim's office was on the 38th floor, in the development wing. Maria had cleaned it many times, but the woman herself was a revelation. Mid-40s, wearing jeans and a blazer, with kind eyes behind stylish glasses. Maria, come in. Coffee? Tea? Something stronger. She laughed at her own joke. I'm kidding about the last one. Mostly. Coffee would be great, Maria said, grateful for something to do with her hands. Rachel poured the cups from a high-tech machine that probably cost more than Maria made in a month. So Ethan showed me the code you wrote. The fix. It was just one line that saved $100 million. Rachel leaned against her desk, studying Maria with genuine interest. But what impressed me more was your response to the development team's discussion forum yesterday. Heat rushed to Maria's cheeks after telling Sophie she'd engage. She'd spent 3 hours crafting a detailed response to the optimization debate, posting it anonymously. How did you know that was me? Because it was brilliant, elegant, and came from an IP address in Pilsen at 2 a.m. Rachel smiled. Also because you solved in 3 paragraphs what my team had been arguing about for a week. They were overthinking it, Maria said, then caught herself. I mean, not that they're not smart. They are smart. Too smart sometimes. They get so caught up in complex solutions they miss the simple ones. Rachel moved to her computer and pulled up Maria's post, but you saw straight to the heart of it. That's a gift, Maria. One that can't be taught. I've been away for 3 years. Maria felt compelled to point out, there's so much I don't know. New languages, new frameworks, all learnable. What you have that intuitive understanding of how systems work. How to find the elegant solution, that's the hard part. Rachel's expression grew serious, but I won't lie to you. Catching up won't be easy. The team is young, hungry, some of them a bit arrogant. You'll have to prove yourself. I'm used to that, Maria said quietly. I bet you are. Rachel pulled out a tablet and handed it to Maria. This is our current project list. Take a look. Tell me what you see. Maria scrolled through the descriptions, her mind automatically categorizing and analyzing. You're trying to integrate 7 different legacy systems, but you're treating them as separate problems instead of looking for the common architecture. Here, she pointed to one section. This authentication module could handle all of them if you just... She stopped, realizing she'd been sketching solutions on the tablet without asking. Rachel was grinning. Please, continue. For the next hour, Maria forgot to be nervous. She and Rachel dove deep into technical discussions, debating approaches and solutions. It felt like awakening a part of her brain that had been dormant, like flexing a muscle she'd forgotten she had. Damn, Rachel said finally, leaning back in her chair. Ethan undersold you. When can you start? Maria hesitated. I still have obligations. My other jobs. Which ones? I clean here at night, and I have a weekend job at a restaurant. Plus the community center. Keep the community center. Kids need people like you. But Maria, the salary Ethan's offering you won't need the other jobs. Maria looked down at her hands, callous from 3 years of manual labor. What if I'm not good enough? What if I let everyone down? Rachel's voice softened. Can I tell you something? When my husband died, I was working at a startup, 60 hours a week, to kids under 5. I quit. Had to. For 5 years. I was just mom. When I tried to come back, everyone said I'd been away too long. Technology had passed me by. But you're head of development now, because Ethan's father gave me a chance. Saw past the gap in my resume to what I could offer. Rachel stood and moved to the window, gazing out at the city. You know what I learned. We don't lose our abilities when life forces us to step away. We gain perspective. You've spent 3 years seeing this world from the ground up. That's not a weakness, it's a superpower. Maria felt tears threatening again. She cried more in the past week than in the past 3 years combined. I don't know how to be that person anymore. The confident one. The one who believed she could change the world. Then be someone new. Rachel suggested, turning back to her. Be the woman who survived the worst. Who kept her family together. Who still found time to teach kids to code. Be the woman who can see solutions others miss. Because she's had to find creative solutions her whole life. A knock on the door interrupted them. Ethan Ward entered, looking perfectly put together in a navy suit that probably cost more than Maria's annual rent. Sorry to interrupt. How's it going? I'm trying to convince Maria that we need her more than she needs us, Rachel said. Not sure I'm succeeding. Ethan's green eyes found Maria's. Maybe because that's backward. This isn't charity, Maria. You'd be doing us a favor. My team is brilliant, but they all come from the same schools, the same backgrounds. They think the same way. You don't, because I'm a dropout who cleans offices. The words came out more bitter than she intended. Because you're a survivor who sees the world differently, Ethan corrected. Do you know how rare that is? How valuable? Maria looked between them, Rachel with her understanding smile, Ethan with his intense sincerity. Through the window, Chicago, stretched out in all his morning glory, a city of possibilities she'd stopped seeing years ago. If I say yes, she said slowly, I start at entry level. I prove myself like everyone else. No special treatment because I solved one problem. Deal, Ethan said immediately. And I need flexibility from my sister. She has medical issues. Full flexibility, Rachel assured. Her results matter, not hours logged. Maria took a deep breath, feeling like she was standing on the edge of a cliff. But maybe, after 3 years of crawling, it was time to remember how to fly. Okay, she said, the word small, but monumental. Okay, yes, I'll take the job. Rachel clapped her hands together. Excellent. Can you start Wednesday? Give you time to wrap up your other commitments? Wednesday? Maria tested the word, the new reality. Yes, Wednesday works, as they discussed. Details paperwork, equipment, parking passes. Maria felt a strange sensation in her chest. It took her a moment to recognize it. For the first time in 3 years, she wasn't just surviving. She was becoming. Wednesday arrived faster than Maria expected. She stood in the Ward Industries parking garage at 7 a.m., holding a new laptop bag Rachel had sent over and wearing clothes Sophie had insisted on buying. With part of the signing bonus. "You're not wearing funeral clothes to your first day," her sister had declared, dragging her to Target for what she called budget professional chic. The development floor buzzed with energy even at this early hour. Young programmers hunched over multiple monitors, empty energy drink cans creating small skylines on their desks. Maria felt ancient at 28, an imposter in her crisp new blouse. Rachel appeared, coffee in hand and a warm smile on her face, ready for the tour. What followed was a whirlwind of introductions, faces and names blurring together. Most of the developers were polite, but distant, clearly skeptical of the new hire who'd mysteriously appeared. Maria caught whispers when they thought she couldn't hear. Heard she's some kind of charity case, Ward's pet project, probably won't last a month. But one developer, a young black woman with purple streak braids, approached with genuine friendliness. "I'm Keisha. Welcome to the madhouse. Don't let the bros get to you, half of them couldn't code their way out of a paper bag without Stack Overflow." Maria laughed despite her nerves. "Thanks for the warning. Come on, I'll show you your desk." The workspace was modest, a corner cubicle with a standard setup, but to Maria, it looked like paradise. Her own computer, her own space, a nameplate that read Maria Delgado, junior developer. "I know it's not much," Keisha said apologetically, "but it's perfect," Maria interrupted, running her fingers over the keyboard. "It's absolutely perfect." She spent the morning setting up her development environment, muscle memory slowly returning as she configured her tools. Around 11, a shadow fell across her desk. She looked up to find a young man with artfully messed hair and an expensive smartwatch. "So you're the cleaning lady who thinks she can code," he said, loud enough for nearby desks to hear. "I'm Tyler, lead on the Morrison project, Maria," she replied evenly, "and I don't think I can code." "I know I can." Tyler smirked. "Right? Well, when you're done playing with your setup, maybe you can handle some documentation upgrades. That's probably more your speed." He dropped a stack of printouts on her desk and sauntered away. Maria stared at the papers, anger and humiliation warring in her chest. Then she noticed something in the documentation, a glaring error in the database schema that would cause data corruption under load. Instead of just fixing the documentation, she opened the project repository. The error was everywhere, baked into the foundation of Tyler's lead project. If it went to production, it would be catastrophic. For a moment, she considered letting it slide. Let Tyler learn his lesson the hard way. But then she thought of Ethan, of Rachel, of the chance they'd given her. She began typing, fingers flying as she documented the issue and coded a fix. An hour later, she submitted a pull request with detailed notes explaining the problem and solution. 20 minutes after that, her desk phone rang. "Delgado, my office." Now, the voice was sharp, authoritative. Marcus Chen, the director of development. Maria's stomach plummeted. She'd overstepped. First day, and she was already getting fired. Marcus's office was all sharp angles and black furniture. He stood behind his desk, tablet in hand, expression unreadable. Tyler sat in one of the guest chairs, looking smug. "Explain this," Marcus said, turning the tablet toward her. Her pull request filled the screen. "The schema has a recursive foreign key constraint that would cause deadlock under concurrent transactions," Maria said, forcing her voice to remain steady. "The fix restructures the—" "I know what it does," Marcus interrupted. "What I want to know is why a junior developer on her first day is rewriting core architecture." "Because it's wrong," Maria said simply, "and wrong code doesn't care about seniority." Tyler snorted. "This is exactly what I—" "Shut up, Tyler," Marcus said casually, not looking away from Maria. "You missed a critical flaw that would have cost us millions. A flaw that he pointed at Maria, caught while you were too busy being condescending to notice you'd handed her a ticking time bomb." The smug expression slid off Tyler's face. "What?" Marcus turned the tablet toward him. "Run the load tests. See for yourself, or better yet, ask Maria to explain it to you, slowly, using small words. Sir, you're off the Morrison project," Maria, you're taking lead on the database restructure. Questions? Maria's mouth opened. Closed, opened again. I don't know the full project scope. You'll learn. Keisha will brief you. He glanced at Tyler. You can go. Tyler slunk out, shooting Maria a venomous look. When the door closed, Marcus's stern expression softened slightly. Word of advice. Delgado. Half these kids have never faced real adversity. They coast on talent and connections. You've had to fight for everything. That makes you dangerous. He smiled thinly. I like dangerous. Don't disappoint me. Maria left his office in a daze. At her desk, she found Keisha grinning widely. Girl, you just took down Tyler Bennett on day one. That's legendary. I didn't mean to. Yes, you did. And he deserved it. Keisha pulled up a chair. Come on, let me show you the Morrison project. It's actually pretty cool when it's not being sabotaged by incompetence. As they dove into the code, Maria felt something shift. The whispers around her changed tone, less dismissive, more curious. By lunch, 3 developers had stopped by to introduce themselves properly. Her phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. Heard you're making waves already. Good. That's what we hired you for. Then another, from Sophie. How's the first day going? Genius. Maria typed back. I think I just accidentally declared war on the brothers. But also maybe won the first battle. That's my sister. Kick ass, take names, change the world. Love you. Maria smiled, turning back to her screen where code flowed like poetry. It wasn't going to be easy. Tyler wouldn't be the last one to test her, to question her right to be here. But for the first time in 3 years, she felt like she was exactly where she belonged. At 6 p.m., as the office began to empty, Rachel stopped by. How was day one? Educational, Maria said diplomatically. Rachel laughed. I heard. Marcus is impressed. That's not easy to do. She paused. You know, you don't have to prove everything in one day, right? Actually, Maria said, thinking of Tyler's sneer, of 3 years of being invisible, of dreams deferred but not destroyed. I think I do. 2 weeks into her new job, Maria had developed a routine. Arrive early, code until her eyes burned, go home to help Sophie study, sleep for a few hours, repeat. The Morrison Project database restructure was ahead of schedule, and even Tyler had grudgingly started treating her with respect after she'd saved his code for the 3rd time. But it was Thursday evening when everything shifted again. Maria was alone on the development floor, having sent Keisha home after noticing her friend nodding off at her desk. The familiar quiet of after-hours work felt comfortable, reminding her of better times, late nights at MIT when the world was full of possibility. You're here late. She jumped, spinning in her chair to find Ethan standing behind her, looking unusually disheveled. His tie was loosened, jacket discarded, and his usually perfect hair showed signs of repeated hand-running. Mr. Ward. Ethan, you scared me. Sorry. He managed a tired smile. I could say the same about you. It's past 9. I'm used to working nights, Maria said, then noticed the tension in his shoulders, the tightness around his eyes. Are you okay? He laughed, but it was hollow. Board meeting today. They're not happy about the Singapore expansion. My father's old partners think I'm being too aggressive, taking too many risks. He rubbed his face. Maybe they're right. Maria studied him for a moment, then made a decision. Come on. What? You look like you need coffee. Real coffee. Not that burnt break room stuff. She stood, grabbing her jacket. I know a place. 20 minutes later, they sat in a 24-hour diner in Pilsen, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Ethan looked hilariously out of place in his $1,000 shirt, but he attacked his coffee and pie with genuine appreciation. This is where you used to come, he asked. During MIT, this is where I come now. Maria corrected. When Sophie's studying and I need to think. Rosa, she nodded toward the elderly waitress, makes the best coffee in Chicago. Your sister's. Pre-med, right? Following in your footsteps. Different footsteps. She wants to heal people. I just wanted to build things. Maria traced the rim of her mug. What about you? Did you always want to run your father's company? God, no. The admission seemed to surprise him. I wanted to be a teacher. History. Spend my days talking about the past instead of quarterly projections. Why didn't you? Dad died. Someone had to step up. He shrugged, but Maria caught the weight behind the gesture. 26 years old, MBA fresh in hand, suddenly responsible for thousands of employees. I've been faking it ever since. You're Not faking it, Maria said firmly. That fix I did. It only mattered because you built something worth saving. My father built it. I'm just trying not to destroy it. Bullshit. The profanity slipped out, making him blink in surprise. Sorry, but that's what it is. Your father built a good company. You built an empire. $3 billion in valuation? International expansion. That's not maintaining, that's conquering. Ethan stared at her, something shifting in his expression. You've been researching. I work for you now. Seemed prudent to know who I'm dealing with. She leaned forward. Those board members giving you grief, they're scared. You're not playing it safe like they want. You're taking the kind of risks that made your father successful in the first place. Risks that could lose everything or win everything. Maria's voice grew passionate. You think your father never sat in a diner at midnight, wondering if he was making a mistake. The difference between success and failure isn't avoiding doubt, it's pushing through it. Their eyes met and held across the cracked form like a table. Something electric passed between them, a recognition that went beyond employer and employee. How do you do that? Ethan asked softly. Do what? See through all the noise to what matters. First with the code, now with, he gestured vaguely, this, same skill, different application. Maria felt heat rising to her cheeks. Find the core. Problem. Strip away the complications. Solve for X, and what's X in this equation? The question hung between them, loaded with possibilities neither was ready to acknowledge. Maria's phone buzzed, breaking the spell. A text from Sophie. Where are you? It's late. I should go, Maria said, reality crashing back. Sophie worries, of course. Ethan signaled for the check, but Rosa waved him off. Maria's money's no good here, the waitress said in accented English. She tutored my grandson in math. Boy's going to college now because of her. Ethan looked at Maria with something like wonder. Is there anyone in this neighborhood you haven't helped? We help each other, Maria said simply. That's how it works, outside. The diner. The February air was sharp with the promise of snow. They stood awkwardly by Ethan's Tesla, the distance between their worlds suddenly apparent again. Thank you, he said, for the coffee, for the perspective, for... He paused, searching for words, for reminding me why I do this. Anytime, Maria said, meaning it more than she should. The drive back to Ward Industries was quiet, but it was a comfortable silence when Ethan pulled up next to Maria's beat-up Honda in the parking garage. Neither moved to get out immediately. Maria. He started, then stopped. I'd be careful working so late. The building's safe. But I worry. He cut himself off, color rising in his face. I mean, from a liability standpoint. I'll be careful, Maria said, fighting a smile. From a liability standpoint. She gathered her things and headed for her car, hyper-aware of his eyes following her. At her door, she turned back. Ethan, for what it's worth, I think your father would be proud, not of the money or the expansion, but of the risks, of the courage. She drove away before he could respond, but in her rearview mirror, she saw him sitting in his car for a long time, staring at the place where she'd been at home. Sophie was waiting with hot chocolate and a knowing look. So, late-night coding, something like that, Maria said, accepting the mug gratefully. Huh? And does this coding have green eyes and $1 billion? Sophie, what? I'm pre-med. I'm trained to observe symptoms. Sophie grinned wickedly. You, Harmona, are showing all the signs of a dangerous condition. It's not like that. He's my boss. We just had coffee, right? And I'm just pre-med. Not already planning your wedding. Maria threw a pillow at her sister. But later, lying in bed, she couldn't stop thinking about the way Ethan had looked at her across that diner table, like she was more than a project or a problem to solve, like she was someone worth knowing. It was dangerous thinking for a woman who learned the hard way that fairy tales were for other people. But for just tonight, she let herself imagine what it might be like if the world worked differently. If a cleaning lady could become a programmer, could become .no, that way lay heartbreak. And Maria had had enough of that for one lifetime. But still, she dreamed March arrived with a vengeance, bringing the worst blizzard Chicago had seen in years. Maria sat in the development conference room with her team, watching snow obliterate the city beyond the windows. They'd been in crisis mode for 6 hours ever since a major client's system had crashed during the storm. Their backup generators failed, Keisha reported, fingers flying over her laptop. We need to migrate their entire operation to our cloud servers, but the connection keeps dropping. Tyler's team is stuck in traffic, another developer added. Half our people can't get to the office. Maria stared at the error log scrolling past, her mind racing. Around her, panic was setting in as $1,000,000 per minute losses mounted. Marcus paced behind them, barking into his phone at client representatives. "Where's Ward?" someone asked. "Tokyo." Marcus snapped. "Board meeting with the expansion team." He's aware of the situation. As if summoned, Maria's laptop chimed with a video call request. Ethan's face appeared on screen, crisp despite the distance. It was tomorrow in Tokyo, but his eyes showed the same exhaustion they all felt. Status. His voice cut through the chaos. Marcus launched into technical explanations, but Maria tuned out, focusing on the patterns and the errors. Something wasn't right. The failures were too systematic, too. "It's not the storm," she said suddenly. Everyone turned to stare at her. "Explain," Ethan commanded from the screen. "The failures are following a pattern, every 17 minutes, cascading from the same origin point." She pulled up her analysis on the main screen. "This isn't weather-related. It's sabotage. Someone's using the storm as cover for a targeted attack. That's a serious accusation." Marcus warned. "Look at the logs," Maria insisted. "See here and here. Someone with insider knowledge is manually triggering failures to look like storm damage." Silence fell over the room. On screen, Ethan's expression had gone deadly serious. "If you're right, we have minutes before the next wave. Can you stop?" Maria's hands were already moving. "I need admin access to their main servers." "You don't have clearance," Marcus started. "Give it to her," Ethan interrupted. Now, what followed was the most intense hour of Maria's professional life. With Keisha's help, she traced the intrusion to its source. A disgruntled former employee of the client who'd retained backdoor access. As the next attack wave began, Maria was ready, redirecting the malicious code back on itself, neutralizing the threat while preserving evidence. "Holy shit," Tyler breathed from behind her. Sometime during the crisis, he'd arrived, snow still melting on his coat. "That was... How did you even see that?" "Pattern recognition," Maria said, exhaustion hitting her like a wave, and a healthy dose of paranoia. On the screen, Ethan's face showed open admiration. "Excellent work, all of you, but especially Maria. We'll need a full report for the client and law enforcement." "I'll handle it," Marcus said, clapping Maria on the shoulder. "Go home, Delgado. You've earned it." But the storm had other plans. Transit was shut down, the roads impassable. One by one, the team realized they were stranded. "I've got couches in my office," Marcus offered. "There's food in the executive kitchen. Looks like we're having a slumber party." As the team dispersed to find sleeping spots, Maria found herself alone in the conference room, staring at the swirling snow. Her phone had no signal, no way to tell Sophie she was okay. "You're worried about your sister," Ethan's voice made her jump. She'd forgotten the video call was still active. "She'll panic when I don't come home. I had my assistant call your landline. Sophie knows you're safe." At her shocked expression, he shrugged. "You're not the only one who does research, thank you," Maria said softly. "You should get some sleep. It's late there. Early, actually. Sun's just coming up." He paused, something unreadable in his expression. "Maria, what you did today, my father would have been amazed. Hell, I'm amazed. No." His voice was firm. "No minimizing. You saved our largest client. You saw what everyone else missed. You're extraordinary." The word hung between them, carrying more weight than professional praise should. Maria felt heat rising in her cheeks. "Ethan, I know," he said quietly. "I know all the reasons this is complicated, but I need you to know. You're not just an employee to me. You haven't been since that first night." Maria's heart raced. "We can't. I'm not asking for anything. When I'm sitting in Tokyo, in another pointless meeting, I find myself wondering what you'd say, how you cut through the nonsense to find the real solution." He ran a hand through his hair, messing it up in that way that made him look younger, more vulnerable. "You make me remember why I love this work. You make me remember who I used to be," Maria admitted, the words escaping before she could stop them, before everything fell apart. "When I believed I could change the world." "You are changing the world, one line of code at a time." They stared at each other across 8,000 miles, the connection between them almost tangible despite the distance. Then Keisha's voice broke the spell. "Maria, you claiming couch space or what?" I should go, Maria said quickly. Maria, Ethan called as she stood to leave. When I get back, would you have dinner with me? Not as your boss, just as Ethan. She should say no. Every rational part of her brain screamed that this was dangerous, that men like him didn't really fall for women like her, that fairy tales weren't real. But looking at his earnest face on the screen, remembering how he looked in that diner, she found herself nodding. Okay, dinner. When you get back. His smile lit up the screen. Be safe, Maria. I'll see you soon. As she settled onto Marcus's surprisingly comfortable couch, surrounded by her snoring colleagues, Maria stared at the ceiling and wondered what she'd just agreed to. Sophie was going to have a field day. But despite the uncertainty, despite the impossibility of it all, she fell asleep smiling. Outside, the storm raged on. But inside Ward Industries, something new was beginning. Something that had nothing to do with code and everything to do with connection. Something that would change everything. Ethan returned from Tokyo 3 days later, but their promised dinner kept getting postponed. First, Maria caught the flu from the storm lockdown. Then Sophie had a medical emergency, a severe hypoglycemic episode that landed her in there. By the time things settled, 2 weeks had passed, and the easy moment between them had calcified into awkwardness. Maria threw herself into work, leading 3 major projects simultaneously. Her reputation in the company had shifted from charity case to secret weapon. Even Tyler had started coming to her for advice. Their early antagonism transformed into mutual respect. It was a Friday evening in late March when everything unraveled. Maria was reviewing code when Keisha burst into her cubicle, face ashen. Conference room. Now, don't ask questions. The urgency in her friend's voice sent ice through Maria's veins. She followed Keisha to find Marcus, Rachel, and several executives she didn't recognize gathered around the table. On the screen was a presentation that made her blood run cold. Her code, her solutions, her innovations from the past 6 weeks, being presented by a smiling Tyler Bennett to what looked like competitors. What is this? Maria breathed. Industrial espionage, Marcus said grimly. Tyler's been feeding our proprietary code to Nexus Systems. He's been using your work, specifically, as his bargaining chip for a senior position there. Maria sank into a chair, feeling like she'd been punched. How long? Since the day you showed him up. Maybe before. Rachel's voice was gentle, but furious. Security found the evidence an hour ago. He's been copying everything you've touched. Where's Ethan? Maria asked, then wished she hadn't when the executives exchanged glances. On his way back from a client meeting, one said carefully, he's aware of the situation. The next hour was a blur of security protocols, legal documentation, and statements. Tyler had already been escorted from the building, but the damage was extensive. Maria's brilliant solutions, the innovations that had saved multiple clients, were now in the hands of Ward Industries' biggest rival. When Ethan finally arrived, Maria had never seen him so furious. He stalked into the conference room like a predator, his usual composure shattered. How bad? He asked without preamble. Marcus outlined the breach while Maria sat silently, feeling responsible somehow. She should have seen this coming, should have protected her work better. This is my fault, she said when Marcus finished. I should have. Stop. Ethan's voice was sharp, but when his eyes found hers, they softened. This is not your fault. Tyler betrayed all of us, but especially you. Sir, one of the legal team interrupted. We need to discuss options. Nexus has already begun implementing. Get out. Everyone blinked at Ethan's quiet command. Everyone except Maria. Out. Now. The room emptied quickly, leaving them alone. Ethan moved to the window, hands clenched behind his back. I failed you, he said quietly. I promised you'd be safe here, that your work would be valued. And I let that jealous bastard. You didn't let him do anything, Maria interrupted, finding her voice. Tyler made his choice. I should have seen it, should have protected you better. He turned to face her, and the raw emotion in his eyes took her breath away. I've been keeping my distance these past weeks, trying to be professional, trying not to complicate things for you, but all I did was leave you exposed. Ethan, I'm pulling you from the development floor. Effective immediately, Maria's heart stopped. What? No, you can't. You're being promoted to senior architect. Private office, direct report to me. No more Tyler Bennett's getting near your work. He moved closer, his professional mask slipping. I can't stand the thought of someone else taking credit for your brilliance. Not again. People will talk, Maria warned, even as hope bloomed in her chest. They'll say it's favoritism. Let them. Your work speaks for itself. He paused, then added quietly, but they'd be partially right. I am playing favorites. I have been since the night you saved my company. The air between them crackled with tension. Maria stood, moving toward him almost against her will. This is dangerous. I know. I'm not the kind of woman CEOs date. I don't want to date the kind of women CEOs date, Ethan said firmly. I want to date the woman who sees solutions others miss, who helps kids in her community while working 3 jobs, who reminded me why I love building things. Ethan, Maria's voice broke slightly. I'm scared. Of what? Of wanting this too much. Of believing it's real. Tears threatened, but she pushed through. Everyone I've ever counted on has left. My mother, my dreams, even my sense of self. I can't survive losing anything else. Ethan closed the distance between them, his hands gently cupping her face. I'm not going anywhere, Maria, and neither are you. We're going to build something amazing together in the office and out of it. But what if? He silenced her with a kiss, soft at first, tentative, then deeper as she responded. 3 months of tension, of almost and maybes, dissolved in that moment. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard, still scared. He asked softly. Terrified, Maria admitted, but maybe that's okay. We'll figure it out together. Ethan promised. But first, we're going to bury Tyler Bennett and Nexus Systems. What they stole was version 1. I have a feeling version 2, with you leading the charge, will be infinitely better. Maria smiled, feeling something shift inside her. You know what? You're right. They stole code. They can't steal what comes next. That's my brilliant architect talking. He kissed her forehead. Now, about that dinner we keep postponing. Tomorrow? Maria suggested. Sophie's been dying to properly meet you anyway. The protective sister meeting. Now I'm scared. They left the office together, hands linked, ready to face whatever came next. The Tyler betrayal stung, but it had also clarified something vital. She belonged here, not as a charity case or a curiosity, but as herself, and maybe, just maybe, she belonged with Ethan Dada. As they waited for the elevator, Maria's phone buzzed. A text from Sophie, heard about Tyler on the news. You okay? P.S. Tell your billionaire to bring dessert tomorrow. Chocolate. Maria laughed, showing Ethan the message. She already knows. Sophie knows everything. Maria confirmed. It's terrifying. The elevator doors opened, and they stepped in together. Ready for whatever came next, Tyler and Nexus could have the old code. Maria was already dreaming of what she'd build tomorrow. Saturday dinner with Sophie started as a disaster. Ethan arrived at their Pilsen apartment carrying what looked like half a bakery, clearly nervous in a way Maria had never seen him. Sophie, meanwhile, had transformed their tiny space into what she called Intimidation Central, complete with her medical textbooks prominently displayed and photos of their late mother, watching from every surface. So, Sophie said the moment Ethan sat down, what exactly are your intentions toward my sister? Sophie, Maria protested. What? Someone has to ask the hard questions. Sophie fixed Ethan with her future doctor stare. She's been through enough. I need to know you're not just another rich guy playing games. Ethan set down his wine glass carefully. You're right to be protective. Maria's lucky to have you. That's not an answer. Sophie, please, no. It's okay, Ethan interrupted gently. She deserves an answer. He met Sophie's gaze directly. My intentions are to be worthy of her, to support her dreams the way she supported yours, to never make her choose between love and ambition, to build something lasting together. If she'll let me. Sophie studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, but if you hurt her, I know exactly which medications caused unexpected side effects. Sophie, kidding. Sophie grinned suddenly, mostly. Come on, let's eat before Maria combusts. From embarrassment, the rest of dinner was surprisingly easy. Sophie told wild hospital stories, and Ethan revealed a self-deprecating humor Maria hadn't seen before. By dessert an outrageous amount of chocolate cake, they were laughing. Like old friends. I like him, Sophie declared after Ethan left, having insisted on doing all the dishes despite their protests. He looks at you like you hung the moon. It's only been a few months, Maria. Sophie grabbed her sister's hands. You've spent 3 years taking care of everyone else. Let someone take care of you for once. Monday morning, Maria arrived at Ward Industries to find her new office already set up. Top floor, corner view, state-of-the-art everything. A far cry from her basement janitor's closet. Holy promotion, Batman, Keisha whistled, appearing in the doorway. It's just an office, with a view of the entire city and a door that actually closes. Keisha grinned. Own it, girl. You've earned this. Some colleagues whispered about favoritism, but Maria's work spoke louder than gossip. She rebuilt the entire system Tyler had copied, designing something so advanced that the old version looked like a draft. You're terrifying when you're motivated, Rachel told her after reviewing the new plans. Remind me never to get on your bad side. But it was the quiet moments with Ethan Maria cherished most. Late nights when he dropped by her office just to check in, weekend mornings at the diner in Pilsen, where Rosa had adopted him like a grandson, secret smiles in passing, and laughter in spaces that used to be silent. One evening, as the sun set, behind the skyline, Ethan appeared in her office. The board wants to meet you officially. As senior architect and as the woman I'm dating. Maria froze. Your father's old partners? The ones who think you're too bold. The very same. They're curious about the woman who boosted our efficiency by 30% in 2 months. He smiled. And maybe a little curious about the woman who's made me happier than I've been in years. What if they don't like me? Impossible, he said, gently pulling her close. But even if they don't, I'll stand by you. The board meeting was scheduled for Friday. Maria spent the week preparing meticulously, crafting presentations that reflected not only her technical brilliance, but her vision for the future. Sophie helped her choose a new suit, armor for corporate battle, she joked. On Thursday night, unable to sleep, Maria returned to the development floor. She sat alone, coding in silence. Ethan appeared quietly, dressed in jeans and a t-shirt. Couldn't sleep either, just thinking, she replied, about tomorrow, about everything. For months ago, I was cleaning this office. Now, I'm presenting to the board. It feels unreal. Ethan knelt beside her, taking her hands. You know what I see when I look at you. What? The future. Not just to this company of everything. He paused, emotion in his voice. I love you, Maria. I've been wanting to say it for a while. I needed you to know before tomorrow. Maria blinked back tears. You don't have to say anything, Ethan added. Just know it's real. But Maria slid from her chair and knelt with him, eyes shining. I love you too. Even if it's scary, even if it feels too soon, I do. They held each other in the quiet hum of the office that had brought them together. When they finally stood, Maria smiled. We're kind of a mess, aren't we? The best kind, Ethan said. Ready to impress those board members with you by my side. I'm ready for anything. They left the building hand in hand, hearts full, walking toward a future they were no longer afraid of. Harrison, are you aware that your Singapore expansion is hemorrhaging money? The room went still. Ethan straightened in his chair. That's confidential. It's in your public filings if you know where to look. Maria pulled up her analysis. You're trying to apply American infrastructure to Asian markets without accounting for cultural differences in user behavior. Your own cleaning staff could have told you that if anyone had thought to ask them. Are you suggesting we consult janitors on billion-dollar expansions? Another board member scoffed. I'm suggesting you already have cultural consultants in every office. They're just not in the boardroom. Maria's voice grew passionate. Every night, immigrants like me clean your offices. We speak the languages, understand the cultures, see how real people interact with your systems. We're an untapped resource. What are you proposing? Harrison asked. Leaning forward with interest, Maria clicked to her final slide. The Delgado Initiative, a program that identifies talent in unexpected places, not just cleaning staff, but security, food service, maintenance. Give them education opportunities, mentorship, pathways to use their real skills. You get innovative employees who understand your company from the ground up. They get the chance I got. The room erupted in discussion. Some board members were intrigued, others skeptical. Through it all, Harrison watched Maria with sharp eyes. This is quite ambitious, he said finally, and expensive. Less expensive than losing the Singapore market, Maria countered, which you will. Within 6 months, if you don't adapt. You're very confident for someone so new. I'm confident because I'm right, and because I've spent my life watching brilliant people waste their potential due to circumstances. She stood straighter. Give me 6 months and a small budget. I'll prove the concept. Harrison turned to Ethan. You've been unusually quiet. Because this is Maria's show, Ethan said simply. I'm just here to support the woman who's made our company 30% more efficient in 4 months and dating. The CEO doesn't influence these proposals. Harrison's question cut like a knife. Maria felt Ethan tense, but she answered calmly. Dating Ethan means I see him stress about this company every night. It means I understand the weight of legacy, of living up to a father's dreams. It means I'm personally invested in Ward Industries' success. She met Harrison's gaze. If that's a conflict of interest, so be it. But I'd rather be honest about caring too much than pretend. I don't care at all. Silence stretched for long moments. Then Harrison did something unexpected. He smiled. You remind me of someone, he said quietly. Ethan's father. He sat in this very room 35 years ago, a janitor with big dreams, telling us old fools we were thinking too small. He looked around the table. I motioned to approve the Delgado initiative. With a trial budget of $2 million, the vote was close 5-3, but it passed. As the board members filed out, Harrison paused beside Maria. Your mother would be proud, he said quietly, Elena Delgado. We were at the same hospital during her treatment. She talked about her brilliant daughter who was going to change the world. He patted her shoulder. Looked like she was right. After he left, Maria sank into a chair, emotionally drained. Ethan immediately wrapped her in his arms. You were magnificent, he breathed. Absolutely magnificent. Did that really just happen? You just got the board to fund your vision for transforming how we find talent. So yes, it really happened. He pulled back to look at her. How does it feel to change the world? Like I'm going to throw up, Maria admitted, then laughed. But in a good way. Her phone buzzed. Sophie, how did it go? Do I need to prepare poison? Maria typed back. They approved my program. I'm officially changing the world. Bring champagne instead. That's my sister. Mom would be so proud. I'm so proud. Love you. As Maria and Ethan left the boardroom together, she thought about how far she'd come. From mid-dropout to cleaning lady to senior architect to, what? Social revolutionary, corporate, innovator. No, something simpler and more profound. Herself. Double quotes. Hey, Ethan said as they waited for the elevator. I have something for you. He pulled out a small box. Maria's heart stopped. Ethan, it's not a ring, he said quickly, then grinned. Yet, open it. Inside was a key card. But not just any key card, one with special coding she recognized. Is this master? Access to every Ward Industries building worldwide, including the cleaning supply.